You know how often in public conversations about crime, different narratives can get completely tangled up?
Oh, absolutely. Happens all the time.
So today on the deep dive, we really want to untangle two very distinct threads of crime in the U.S. First, we're going to deconstruct what some call the myth of black crime. And then we'll look at the quite different demographics and maybe motivations behind mass shootings.
That's right. And our goal here is really to cut through the assumptions. We're relying on, hard data, academic research.
Okay.
We'll be using sources like the FBI's UCR data, that's the official reports from law enforcement, and also the Bureau of Justice Statistics, NCVS, the victimization survey. That tells us what victims report.
Right. Two different crucial angles.
Exactly. You need both for the full picture.
So let's start with something that honestly might surprise you, especially given what you often hear. Overall violent crime and murder rates, they actually dropped significantly in 2024.
Yeah, significant.
Like murder down almost 15%, violent crime down about 4.5%. That kind of runs counter to the dominant narrative sometimes.
It does. And yet, even with that positive trend, we still see these really stark disparities when you break it down.
How so?
Well, take homicide victimization. Black individuals face a rate of 21.3 per 100,000 people.
Wow.
Which is, it's over 6 times the rate for white individuals, which sits at 3.2 per 100,000. That's a huge difference, and it often gets lost.
So what does that translate to in terms of, say, arrests and incarceration? Because we hear those stats too.
Right. The data does show disproportionate arrests. Black individuals arrested at 2.6 times the per capita rate of others, making up over half of murder arrests.
And incarceration.
Similar picture. Black men are about, 13% of the population?
Yeah.
But around 35% of those incarcerated.
And this is the key point we want to unpack. This isn't about some kind of inherent criminality, right?
Absolutely not. It points directly towards deep historical and systemic factors. We have to look back.
Okay, like what specifically?
Well, think post-Civil War. You had the black codes basically criminalizing everyday life for black people.
Vagrancy, loitering, things like that.
Exactly, which led straight into convict leasing. Essentially, leasing out prisoners, overwhelmingly black by then, for forced labor. It was a way to, reestablish control and profit via a loophole in the 13th Amendment.
The except as punishment for a crime part.
Precisely. Then fast forward, you get the law and order rhetoric in the mid-20th century, the war on drugs.
Oh, yes, the crack versus powder cocaine sentencing disparity. Huge impact. Huge,
leading to vastly disproportionate incarceration rates, with non-white individuals making up something like 70% of U.S. prisoners during peak years. And underlying all this, implicit bias in the system. Plus, ongoing issues like gaps in wealth, education, housing segregation. It all connects.
And you can't ignore the media's role in shaping perception here, can you?
Definitely not. Research consistently shows minority groups, especially African Americans, are overrepresented as perpetrators in news coverage.
Like 2.5 times more likely than white individuals to be shown as suspects.
Right. And at the same time, minority victims often get less coverage. It creates this skewed view, maybe even an empathy gap.
Okay, so that's one complex picture. Now let's shift gears completely to mass shootings. How do we define that first?
Good question. The FBI generally uses 4 or more murders in a single public incident. U.S. statute sometimes uses 3 or more killings.
And the demographic profile of the perpetrators?
It's strikingly different. Overwhelmingly male, we're talking over 92%.
Okay.
And predominantly white. Studies consistently put that figure around 51 to 52%. And age-wise, they tend to be in their mid-30s, average age around 34, 35.
So a very specific profile, quite different from the broader crime stats we just discussed. What about the motivations or contributing factors?
It's complex, but you often see themes of externalized blame, a sense of being wronged, seeing themselves as victims of injustice.
And sometimes a desire for notoriety.
Yeah, a desire for fame or infamy definitely comes up. Now, mental health is often discussed. Around 62% show some symptoms beforehand. But it's often not a formal diagnosis. Maybe only a quarter have a known clinical diagnosis, so it's not the whole story.
So what else plays a role?
A big factor seems to be what's called media contagion, or the copycat effect.
How so?
Extensive, sometimes sensationalized news coverage might inadvertently provide a sort of blueprint or inspiration for others contemplating similar acts.
That's sobering. So, bringing it all together, what's the main takeaway here?
Well, I think the central point is that these are really 2 fundamentally different issues. The narrative around black crime is deeply tied to history, systemic inequality, societal factors.
It's a construct, really.
Right. Whereas mass shootings have this distinct perpetrator profile. Specific motivations may be different contributing factors like media contagion. They aren't the same challenge.
And understanding that difference is crucial, right, for actually finding solutions.
Absolutely crucial. If we lump everything together, rely on broad generalizations, we can't develop effective targeted policies, we miss the mark.
So maybe the question for you, the listener, is how does recognizing these deep distinctions change how you think about justice, about public safety moving forward?
Yeah. What does that clarity mean for you?